I worked nights as a janitor at a regional hospital for almost 3 years. It wasn't a glamorous job, but it paid well enough, and the overnight shift meant I didn't have to deal with many people. Most nights were quiet, almost peaceful in a strange way. The hospital never truly slept, but after 1 a.m., entire floors would go dark. Lights dimmed, hallways emptied. The only sounds were the distant beeping of monitors and the occasional cart rolling somewhere far away. I was assigned to the 4th floor, an older wing of the hospital that mostly housed administrative offices and a few unused patient rooms. They were in the process of renovating it, so at night it was supposed to be completely empty. That's what they told me. Around 2:40 a.m., I was mopping the main hallway when my radio crackled. "Can you check the east stairwell?" security asked. Motion sensor just tripped. That happened occasionally. Sometimes it was a raccoon that got into the building, or a door that didn't latch properly. I said sure and wheeled my cart toward the stairwell. The closer I got, the colder it felt. Hospitals are always cold, but this was different. The air felt heavy, like it had been sitting still for too long. I pushed open the stairwell door. The lights were on, but the stairwell was empty. No footsteps, no movement, nothing. I radioed back that everything was clear. As I turned to leave, I heard a single footstep above me. Slow, deliberate. I froze and listened. Another step, then another. Someone was coming down the stairs. I called out, assuming it was security or another janitor. No response. The footsteps stopped 1 flight above me. I waited, expecting someone to appear around the corner. No one did. After a few seconds, the stairwell went completely silent again. I left quickly and tried to shake it off. About half an hour later, my radio crackled again. Same sensor, same stairwell. Security asked if I was sure no one was there. I told them yes, but my voice didn't sound convincing, even to me. This time, they asked me to stay on the line while I checked. I opened the door again. Empty. But as I stepped inside, the stairwell lights flickered and I heard something I hadn't heard before. Breathing. It wasn't loud. It wasn't close. It sounded like someone standing in the stairwell with me, trying to breathe quietly. I backed out immediately and told security to send someone up. 2 guards arrived within minutes. They searched the entire stairwell top to bottom. Nothing. No one. Later that night, just before 4 a.m., I decided to take my break. The break room was on the same floor, tucked near the old patient rooms that hadn't been used in years. As I sat there scrolling on my phone, the elevator bell chimed. That shouldn't have happened. The 4th floor elevators were deactivated overnight. They were programmed not to stop unless maintenance requested access. I stepped into the hallway and watched as the elevator doors slowly slid open. The car was empty, but the floor indicator above the door was lit. It said 4. The doors stayed open for a long time, longer than usual. I felt a sudden, overwhelming sense that I wasn't supposed to be there. Then the doors closed by themselves. I radioed security again, my voice shaking now. They told me something that made my stomach turn. No one had called the elevator, and according to their system logs, it hadn't moved. I asked them to pull the camera footage from the hallway. They did, and later that morning, one of the guards showed it to me. The video showed me standing in the hallway staring at the elevator. But behind me, just a few feet away, was a figure standing in the dark near the patient rooms. Tall, still, watching. The camera never showed it moving, but I know, without a doubt, that when I turned around that night, there was nothing there. I didn't finish my shift. I didn't come back the next night. And as far as I know, they sealed off the 4th floor shortly after. They told staff it was because of renovation delays. But I still think about the security footage, because the guard told me one last thing before I left. That figure? It only appeared on camera after midnight.
I used to work overnight at a small gas station just off the highway, the kind of place most people only stop at because they're too tired to keep driving. My shift ran from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., and after about midnight, the store usually went dead quiet. No cars, no voices, just the hum of the refrigerators and the buzzing fluorescent lights. Around 3:12 a.m., the phone behind the counter rang. That alone was strange. Nobody ever called the station that late. I almost didn't answer it. But when you work nights long enough, You learn that ignoring things usually makes them worse. I picked up the receiver and said, "Thanks for calling. How can I help you?" There was no response, just breathing. Slow, shallow, like someone was trying not to be heard. I asked again if anyone was there. That's when the breathing stopped, and a man's voice whispered, "I can see you." I froze. I laughed a little at first, because that's what your brain does when it asks scared and trying to pretend it isn't a T. I told him this wasn't funny and that I'd hang up. The voice replied, "I'm standing by pump 4. My stomach dropped. Pump 4 was visible through the front window. I turned my head slowly. There was no one there. No car, no shadow. Just the empty lot under the orange glow of the streetlights. I told him I didn't see anyone. He said, "That's because I'm not outside anymore." That's when the bathroom door behind me creaked. I hadn't heard it open. I hadn't heard footsteps. But I knew. I was no longer alone in that store. I dropped the phone and ran behind the counter, locking myself in the tiny office. I called the police, my hands shaking so badly I could barely dial. They arrived about 10 minutes later. They searched the building. No one was there. No signs of forced entry. No fingerprints. No footprints outside. The officer asked me one last thing before leaving. He held up the phone receiver. "Did the call disconnect?" I told him no. He put the receiver back to his ear. His face went pale, because the line was still open. Night shifts teach you something most people never learn. When the world goes quiet, you start to notice things you were never meant to notice. And sometimes, something notices you back. If you have a story you'd like to share, say I have on the comments section and we'll contact you.
I worked nights as a security guard at a self-storage facility on the outskirts of town. It was one of those places built far from everything else. No houses nearby, no businesses, just rows and rows of metal storage units surrounded by fencing and floodlights. My shift ran from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., and most nights were painfully boring. I sat in a small guard shack near the front gate, watching camera feeds and responding to motion alerts when they came in. Usually, they were caused by stray animals or the wind rattling loose doors. Around 1:30 a.m., the first alert went off, Zone C. That was one of the older sections of the property. Long rows of storage units with poor lighting and no nearby cameras. I grabbed my flashlight and radio and drove the cart down to the area. Everything looked normal. No open units, no vehicles, no signs of anyone being there. I cleared the alert and went back to the shack. About 40 minutes later, another alert. Same zone. That was unusual. I went back out, checked again. Still nothing. As I was heading back, I noticed something that made me stop. One of the units had its door slightly raised. Not open, just lifted enough to let light underneath. I radioed it in and approached carefully. The lock was still intact. No damage. No tampering. I lifted the door just enough to shine my flashlight inside. The unit was empty. Completely empty. No boxes. No furniture. Just dust and bare concrete. I lowered the door and secured it, feeling unsettled but telling myself it was probably a faulty sensor. At 3:04 a.m., the radio crackled. I heard my name. Not over the main channel, just a quiet transmission like someone accidentally pressed the button. "Hey, you there?" It sounded like my own voice. I stared at the radio, frozen. I hadn't pressed the button. I radioed back asking who was calling. Silence. I checked the logs. No outgoing transmission from my radio. At 3:27 a.m., the cameras in Zone C went black for about 10 seconds. When they came back on, the motion alert triggered again. I stayed in the shack this time, watching the feed closely. The camera showed the row of units, still empty. Then something moved. A shadow passed in front of the camera. Tall, slow, but there was nothing casting it. No person appeared. Just the shadow. I reported it immediately. Dispatch told me to remain in the shack until backup arrived. That's when the final alert came in. Zone A. That was the front gate, specifically the guard shack. My location. The system showed motion detected inside the shack. I was sitting completely still. The radio crackled again. My voice once more. This time it said, "Don't turn around." I didn't. I stayed frozen, staring at the monitors, my heart pounding so hard I thought I might pass out. The cameras showed nothing unusual. No one entered the shack. No doors opened. The alert cleared on its own. Backup arrived about 15 minutes later. They searched the entire facility, found nothing. No intruders. No signs of forced entry. No explanation. The supervisor reviewed the logs and told me something I still think about. The final motion alert? It didn't come from the shack sensors. It came from inside the system itself, as if something had manually triggered it. I quit the next morning. I didn't give notice. I didn't go back. And sometimes, when I'm alone late at night, I swear I hear my radio crackle and my own voice calling my name.